What's going on, guys? We are live with episode number 6 of the Club and Sub podcast. Tonight we're going to talk about UFC Las Vegas 2. That's going to be I versus Calvillo. Not the best card we've ever had here, but we'll try to have some fun with it, and I think all of us have some plays. So as usual, I'm your host, John Stargarian MMA. You can find me on Twitter at MMA Fox. Right now I'm with Luke, who you can find on Twitter at SWR_betting. Danny Lags, you can find at Lags_the Capper. And C. Hansen, who you can find on Twitter at CHansen10. And we should be joined shortly by Quinn. So first up, we have Christian Aguilera, Anthony Ivy. Not the best fight we've ever had. You know, neither of these guys were in the UFC. Ivy got called on late last week to potentially fight Mearshart and then ended up getting pulled. I dove into this a little bit. I don't really see much of an angle on it at the moment. I think the line's probably right with Ivy around minus 190, like decent wrestle boxer, but Aguilera seems to have a decent sub game from bottom, and Ivy has a pretty poor control game. I just ultimately can't trust a guy like Aguilera who's going to play guard as much as he will. If it's got the plus 200, I think I might take a stab at Aguilera, but it's a pass for me at the moment. Luke, do you have any thoughts here?
I definitely passed over this one. It's not something I do very often because obviously you want to try to find value where you can. But just with all the announcements and whatnot we've gotten in the past couple of days, I mean, the next 5 or 6 cards at least have probably 4 or 5 fights that already have odds on them. So I kind of just took the opportunity to save maybe an hour or two and jump into some other fights I'm potentially looking to target down the line. So I'll pass it to you guys on this one if when you guys have a strong opinion, but I don't.
Can't blame me for that. Lags, any opinion here?
Nah, I agree completely with what you said. I mean, it's a pass for me. I mean, a couple of my rules are just like betting generally in UFC are that I don't bet 2 trash cans. I don't bet 2 debutees unless I have a reason to, and then I don't bet a short notice fighter against somebody else unless I have a reason to. So.
And this
it checks the boxes, so yep, so it's a pass for me.
See, do you have any play here?
I like the over 1.5.
Yeah.
That's kind of the only thing that stood out to me. I think it should really be like 2.5. I don't really see like how they're getting 1.5 on that. I think Aguilera just be able to, survive. If he's on bottom or if he's on top, he could just kind of grind.
Yeah.
Even on the feet, like I don't really think Ivy is like this killer, so I tend to think this thing goes over 1.5.
Yeah, agreed.
I guess if I had to give a prediction, I guess I would say Ivy probably wins, but
yeah, I mean Aguilera is kind of chinny, but Ivy doesn't really strike me as any kind of advanced striker either, though. So it's like,
yeah.
I don't know. I think it's hard to see an angle. Like you definitely can't play juice on Ivy. Like I said, plus 200 Aguilera.
Yeah.
Think about it maybe, but it's just like either one of these guys could look minus 400. I don't think anybody would be surprised at this level. So it's like, how do you get really a good read?
Right.
But on to our next fight of the night. And this is going to be a fun one. We got Derek Minner, Jordan Griffin. I have a play here. I have 2 plays here, actually. I caught Minner at plus 188 for 1.5 units, and I also caught him on FanDuel for first round sub for half a unit at plus 1,000. And yeah, I mean, basically these guys have fought before, and my general thinking here is, look, Minner he put him in danger for 8 minutes or 8.5 minutes the first time they fought before he made a dumb mistake, as he tends to do, and got subbed. Not a lot's changed in either of their games. Griffin still can't really defensively grapple, and Minner puts basically everybody, including Herbert Burns and Grant Dawson, in danger. Like, I honestly see Minner as being like a shitty version or shitty hybrid of Tim Elliott and young Charles Oliveira. Obviously not as good as either, but he does seem to put every single person he fights in danger, like 21 first-round finishes for him. I do think, even though, and like I read your breakdown on it, Luke, today, and I agree he's not like UFC caliber overall, but I do think his grappling skills do kind of translate to this level. Like, I think pretty highly of Grant Dawson, and obviously Burns' submission game is kind of a known. And the fact that, he's able to put those guys in danger, even if he is kind of a quitter, just, makes me think it's transferable to this level. And we've already seen him in Griffin. So, yeah, I kind of think this fight should be even money. And I know Griffin doesn't get subbed often, but I expect him to be in bad positions early and often. And just like I put this on Twitter earlier, but at this point it feels like a math game. Like if you put yourself in a position to get choked repeatedly, one of these times it's going to happen. So yeah, Minner's my play here. Luke, anything here for you?
I actually played Derek Minner against Grant Dawson, just a small stab in that fight at about like plus 375 or plus 400. Yeah, like you said, I mean, he did put Dawson in some precarious positions early on, which is kind of what I was hoping. I actually thought Dawson kind of came close to tapping on one of those guillotines.
Yeah.
Obviously, he got out and, it is what it is. But yeah, in regards to this fight, I think if you were to bet it, kind of around your odds, John, or even better at some of those bigger odds. Like I believe Bet Online opened Jordan Griffin minus 500, and that got just absolutely steamed down, rightfully so. But yeah, largely, I just don't think Jordan Griffin should be a 2-1 favorite over anybody in the UFC for a lot of the points you brought up. He puts himself in a lot of bad positions. I know he's largely been able to defend a lot of those submissions, but like you said, it's a numbers game. One of these times he's going to find himself choked. And, Minner's a guy who's aggressive. He's also going to put himself in some bad positions as well, but he's going to be very aggressive in attacking those submissions as well. So I didn't like this fight from a straight perspective enough, at least to take the stab on Minner. But what I did do is I played 2 units on the under 2.5 rounds at minus 190. Largely, I'll never play a total that is that chalked up, but I was just doing a little number crunching and some math. Out of all the fights between both of these guys that have had methods of victory available, 44 out of 51 of those fights have all hit the under 2.5, which comes to 86%. So in me betting this fight at minus 190, that's 65%. So to me, I'm getting a 21% edge over the course of these guys' entire career in totality. So if it's the case where we see, Minner kind of grind him out, similar to what he did in the first round, and assuming a submission doesn't come, I'm fine with that because that's falling in that 14%. So I'm definitely willing to take a relatively decent stab here on the under 2.5 rounds. I think it's just a long-term positive EV play. So like I said, if it falls in that 14%, I'll lose that all day, but I got to stick with the numbers here. So yeah, I bet 2 units on the under 2.5 rounds at minus 190.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on any of that. Lags, any place here?
Yeah, so similar to what I was talking about in the last fight, this checks one of my boxes. Actually, I don't really rate these guys too highly of each other. I think I'm not going to say they're trash. It's trash versus trash, but I don't think they're too great. And I think it's a dumpster fire, honestly. But one angle I think I'm going to take is playing 1 unit on fight ends by submission at minus 110. So 21 of Minner's 24 wins are by sub, and 8 of his 11 losses are by sub. So like Luke touched on, he's going to be aggressive. He's going to try to go for the neck. And I think this fight definitely, like you said, under 2.5 is a good spot. I just can't lay the chalk where it's currently sitting at. So.
Can't blame me for that. Quinn, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the podcast. Do you have any plays on Derek Minner and Jordan Griffin?
No plays. I actually really like that sub play, Lags. That's a minus 110. That's a fantastic line. I might hit that. The value's on Minner all day. I mean, he opened up at like what plus 250, which is like insane.
Higher than that.
I think Luke said it was even higher than that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was close to plus 300 at one point.
Yeah, that's nuts. Jordan Griffin should not be that big of a favorite, like you said, over anyone in the UFC. It seemed like Minner was controlling the fight until he got subbed. So I don't really see how you can play Griffin. Like you said, he puts himself in so many bad positions. Striking is very meh. Minner's plus 145 right now. So I don't really see much value there anymore. But if you got Minner at opens, that's a fantastic line. And I'll probably hit that sub prop. That's a really good prop.
See, anything from you?
No, I might stab Minner by sub, but maybe even decision. I don't know. I mean, he grinded out Jordan last time. Guy's like basically fucking grappling glass. I mean, I don't know how to describe the fucking guy. I bet on him versus Burns and Dawson. So I guess I'll go 0 for fucking 3. But yeah, I mean, he dominated for whatever 8.5 minutes. He was basically
Those
just
2 rounds.
grinding the fuck out of Griffin until he wasn't, which is a typical theme. I mean, same thing with Burns. I was getting ready to cash the fucking ticket. I thought he was icing his ass, and then boom, what do you know? Gets armbarred, whatever. Yeah. So overall, shitty fight, just like the card.
Hey, what was that, Quinn?
Nothing. I was just laughing at C.
And then the next fight of the night, we have Tyson Nam taking on newcomer from Bellator, Zaruk Adashev. Apparently, he's a glory kickboxer. Not sure the tape really backs that up. Luke, I know you have a play here. You want to take this away?
Yeah, this was one I wasn't originally looking to play. Nam was originally scheduled to face Ryan Benoit. That fell out. So this newcomer Adashev's coming in on less than a week's notice. He's only got 4 pro fights in MMA, 3-1, as you touched on, John, former glory kickboxer. But yeah, so I taped this one a decent amount to try to see if I could get an angle on this new guy because he opened so high here. He opened over -2 to 1. Or no, I'm sorry. Nam opened over -2 to 1, and just all this money came in on this new guy. And I was honestly really shocked because usually when we see these glory guys come in, usually the main, what's that? Oh, no, sorry. I was hearing feedback from somebody. But no, usually when these glory guys come in, one of the main things I look at is their takedown defense.
Yeah.
Because obviously if they're a kickboxer, they're going to stand very upright, throw a lot of kicks. So, we've seen it a lot with Chikadze and whatnot. But in the limited tape I did, I mean, the guy's takedown defense is actually pretty good. And what was surprising is that then his striking is actually really shitty. So it was kind of reversed from what I thought I was going to see. On the feet, the guy largely just wings like big rock'em sock'em robot punches, like kind of Amaro Romero Barella type thing. Like literally that's how it looks. Like he'll throw some flashy stuff, but from like a technical standpoint, the guy has really no technique. And I mean, the guys he's fighting, I think, had a total combined record of 4-4. So I mean, he's not beating anybody either. So I mean, I'm not high on Tyson Nam here, but the dude's fought some pretty good people.
Yeah.
I think he had moments in that Kara France fight. He lost via unanimous decision, but I think he had a decent showing given against a guy like Kai Kara France. So yeah, I made a small play, 1 unit at -120 here, more so just like a value play. A guy who's had almost 30 pro fights, has fought a ton of really good guys, is incredibly tough, incredibly difficult to finish. So yeah, I'm willing to take the stab. It's more of a value play and more of an experience thing, more so necessarily than a stylistic thing. Because like I said, I'm not too high on Nam. He kind of has trouble letting his hands go at times. So, but at -120 against a guy who's 3-1 and hasn't looked very good in doing so, I'm willing to take that shot. If I lose, so what? But I think I got to side with experience here.
Agreed. Lags, how about you? Anything on this fight?
No, I got nothing on this fight. When the fight was originally announced with Benoit versus Nam, I had no interest in that fight either. Honestly, I mean, I was leaning Nam, but I mean, it was a complete pass for me, and now it's even more of a pass with a late replacement. But I definitely think the value at -110 now where it's sitting at is on Nam, just like Luke touched on, based on the experience.
Quinn, do you have any opinions on this fight?
No, this fight sucks. I have no interest in playing a glory kickboxer who's making his UFC debut, and he beat an 0-1 and an 0-2 fighter. 0-2 by unanimous decision. That just screams pass to me. Nam is not good at all. But he has a lot of experience. He's got a lot of fighting experience, so he'll probably win. So I definitely don't hate that play, Luke. But yeah, I have absolutely zero interest in even watching this fight.
See, how about you?
0-2 on Nam in the UFC. Fucking another guy. I don't know. I'm stuck with fucking these guys.
Start throwing.
So, yeah. Yeah, I took him versus Pettis and France. Fucker.
I did too.
He doesn't let his hands go, like Luke said, but he is ultra durable. He's got some pop. I don't know about this. I didn't really do much research on this Glory guy, but I'm pretty much down to fade Glory kickboxers for like 15 units at all times. So sign me up.
Yeah, and I'm still like kind of hemming and hawing about this fight, to be honest, because I did tape it before we came on tonight, and like I don't really see much that I like about Adeshev. Like to your point, Luke, like he does seem to have good takedown defense, but the one time I saw him on the mat, like his guard was basically like butter put in a microwave. And, and like I don't, and on the feet, like you said, he just swings hooks. Like he doesn't seem like he really ever sits down on his punches. And it's really not hard to beat guys standing who are basically human heavy bags. Like it's just the problem is like Nam technically in his tape looks way better, but like to what everybody said, he doesn't really let his hands go ever. Like, you know, you saw he had moments in the Pettis fight where Pettis basically had his back to the cage and wasn't moving, and he's just sitting there letting Pettis just throw front kicks and jabs at him without ever returning fire. And so it's like, I think Nam has the tools to look like a minus 400 if he wants, but I also think he could just easily give away 2 rounds on the card just from inactivity. So like, I haven't decided if I'm going to play it or not. I do think if you're going to bet it, betting Nam is the way to go. I don't understand why you would bet Adeshev even at like plus 160, to be honest. So, you know, I don't really – yeah. Then Warrior Bet just commented first time Nam's training full time, which is a good point. I don't think you could even justify playing Adeshev under like any circumstance. Like the guy's beaten, to Quinn's point, literally nobody. I think this guy Ron Leone he beat had like a 1-4 record who, you know, literally is a punching bag who just basically tried to clinch for underhooks against the cage. So, yeah, it's interesting. I might move in on Nam, but I'm not sure. Shit fight. Anyway, we move on to another riveting matchup here. We got Julia Avila and Gina Mazzani. Lags, do you have any opinion on this fight?
I mean, like we were talking about right before the show, I think the line's wide where it's currently at. I mean, I think Avila probably wins this fight, but I mean, I'm not touching it at minus 535 I have on my book.
Yeah.
I like the under 2.5. I think that'd be a better look if you were looking to play this fight, or I'll be inside the distance. Like, I don't see Mazzani winning this inside the distance. So I think for a value perspective, if you were just going to bet this fight to bet it, I think I'll be inside the distance, but it's a pass for me.
Quinn, how about you?
So I saw Gina Mazzani, and then I saw Avila as 5-1 favorite, and I didn't even tape it, to be honest with you. I have another fight that I just have no interest in at all. Avila probably wins, but yeah, minus 525. Yeah, that's a hard pass for me. So on to the next.
How about you?
Yeah, I was talking to the guy who put $1 million on Nunez. He told me he's putting $1 million on this, so look out.
I wouldn't doubt him.
Yeah, so I don't have much of a strong opinion here. Kind of what we talked about before we went live. Like, I personally like Avila should be able to win this pretty easily. Like, she can trade in the pocket with Mazzani pretty much with impunity here. But you know, FanDuel had it like minus 610 earlier today for Avila, and like
yeah, I saw that. Yep,
that's
like,
crazy.
I can't play Gina Mazzani, I don't think, but I'm thinking about it.
No way. No way.
No,
Don't do it. Don't do
I
it.
just like honestly, I think Mazzani's trash, but like for somebody who's going to attempt takedowns, like I said before we went live, like is it that hard to imagine a scenario where, you know, maybe Avila just doesn't show up right because of like COVID or whatever? You know, I think she's a geologist full time, and you end up having, seriously, and you end up having, you know, Mazzani land 3 or 4 takedowns and kind of just steal around. Like, to be clear, I think Avila's going to kick her ass, but like, I'm just like, I don't know. It's just a gross fight. I think the line is probably too wide, but Avila probably dominates. Luke, do you have any strong opinions here?
Yeah, the only reason I put any, I guess, decent amount of time into this fight is I was potentially looking to target the under, or the fight doesn't go to decision. But I think it opened at plus money, and that got steamed right away to favorite money. So pretty much after I saw that, I mean, obviously Avila's way too chalked up. It's still low to moderate level women's MMA. I'm not laying this kind of chalk on anybody here. So yeah, it's one of those situations where the line's too high on the favorite, but not enough value to bet the dog. I don't really like the under at any sort of favorite money. So, but yeah, Avila should roll here.
Yeah, agreed. Can't dispute that. And yeah, I'm reaching as hard as I can here over here. Next up, we got oh god, we had Charles Rosa, Kevin Aguilar. Quinn, I know you had an opinion on this. I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, I like Aguilar here. I don't really. I've just not been impressed with Rosa at all. I think his stand up is absolute trash. He throws in high volume, but it's mainly kicks. He leaves his hands down when he throws kicks. He moves backwards. He really likes that calf kick. Aguilar, for what it's worth, he has really good boxing. He'll move forward in the pocket. He has some pop in his punches. So I just see him countering Rosa off of those leg kicks. He's got a 5-inch reach advantage here. I could see him maybe getting a knockdown or two to win rounds. I could also maybe see him putting Rosa out. I know Rosa is pretty tough. Took Burgos to round 3, which was impressive. But I don't really see this fight going to the ground at all. Aguilar has pretty decent takedown defense, like pretty good get-ups. Rosa has trash wrestling, and I think his jiu-jitsu is honestly extremely overrated.
Yeah.
We all know about Bermudez and his flukes that he does. I don't really give Rosa that much credit for that. I was looking to bet Rosa, but he's now like minus 185.
You mean Aguilar?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was looking to bet. Sorry, I'm tired. I was looking to bet Aguilar, and he's like now minus 185. I'm going to look at the props when they all come out of my book. But yeah, I like Rosa here a lot. I think he should roll, honestly.
C, any opinions for you?
Jesus Christ, we're getting like fucking the shit of all shit on this card. Yeah, I mean, look, I think Aguilar could just keep it standing, even standing. I mean, I'm not willing to like pay juice on Kevin Aguilar, I guess, in this spot, at least not at like minus 185. Maybe if it was like minus 150, I guess I'd consider it. But even on the feet, I have an odd feeling that this is just going to be, more close than some people are kind of thinking. I mean, Aguilar absorbs pretty good amount of strikes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really have a strong opinion on this, but yeah, I guess I agree with Quinn in some sense on Rosa being like an overrated grappler, and he's got shitty wrestling, so it's just going to be a shitty kickboxing match that, I don't really want any part of.
Yeah, I mean, I went into this, looking for a play on Aguilar and then watched tape, and it's like, honestly, in the normal octagon, I might stab Rosa here. I don't think Aguilar's bad, but I don't think he does a really great job of pressuring, and he's kind of slow. So it's it's not hard for me to imagine a scenario where Rosa kind of, does what he did against Burgos and just kind of bounces around for 15 minutes, lands kicks and fights like the Elias Theodorou fight and wins. I think in the big cage it happens at a reasonable clip. But it's like what both of you said, I don't think he's got much of a chance to get Aguilar down here. And with that in mind, and with what we've seen, it's been very hard for people to kind of kite their opponents here so far through the time in Apex. So it's if he has to get into extended pocket exchanges with Aguilar, he's going to lose. And I think that's likely to happen. I don't think Aguilar is going to do an Omar Morales and sit back and just let him kick him without ever walking forward. So it's a stay away for me. Maybe if this bumped up to plus 200, I'd stab Rosa here, but I don't know where his head's at, and the small cage just kind of scares me away. Luke, how about you?
So I got a pretty strong opinion on it. I played Aguilar for 2 units at minus 160. I won't go too, I guess, in depth into the breakdown because you guys all summed it up pretty well in terms of how this fight's going to play out. But ultimately, I think Aguilar gets his first UFC finish here. Rosa is extremely flawed on the feet, and he, as you touched on, he kind of fights that Elias Theodorou kind of style on the feet, just throws a lot of junk. So, I mean, I do see a scenario where, if you're getting more incompetent judging or whatever, he might just play that outside pitter-patter game and edge some greasy split decision or something. But I just feel like when he comes in, because he's going to have to come in at some point, I just feel like Aguilar is going to blast him. Just utterly blast the guy. Like I said, I think he'll get a finish here, but I mean, even over the course of 3, even if he's throwing more of that junk stuff, I just feel like anything significant that happens in this fight is coming from Kevin Aguilar. So assuming the judges like know anything that they should be looking at in terms of significant striking and scoring, assuming it goes to the cards once again, I just don't see how Aguilar loses. And to Quinn's point, I don't see Rosa getting him down. I think Aguilar stuffs takedowns at about an 86% clip.
Yeah.
And even when in that Dan Ige fight, he actually out-grappled Dan Ige in the second round of that fight too. So who's also a black belt. We also know Ige struggles at times, so won't go too deep into that. But so, I mean, even in the rare scenario that this fight hits the mat, I don't necessarily think it's like Rosa is just going to run through him and just sub him, like insta-sub him. So I think at 160, like where the line's currently at right now, that's probably a little high, and I wouldn't have played it either to C's point. But at minus 160, I think I'm getting a pretty good price. You know, I'm only playing 2 units on it for that potential like Weasel Rosa decision. That's always there for a possibility. But yeah, 2 units at minus 160, I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, it's good analysis. I don't really disagree with that. Lags, any thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm not gonna add much else to what Luke just added there. I don't really like Rosa at all. We talked about the striking game. I don't think it's very good at all. I just think that Aguilar is going to do well on the feet. So I'm probably going to throw Aguilar in my parlay. We'll touch on at the end of the show, but yeah, I don't see Rosa really getting it. I don't see this fight getting to the mat. So
yeah, I agree.
I think Aguilar should probably be a bigger favorite, honestly.
So we move to the main card, and it doesn't get much prettier to open up the main card here. We open with Jordan Espinosa, Mark De La Rosa. See you there? You got an opinion on this?
No opinion.
I don't have much of one either. Like, I kind of thought I'd play Espinosa initially, and then it's like I don't really like Espinosa's game much at all, to be honest. And again, it's like one of those things with like the small cage, like that outside game he plays. You know, he's probably gonna be forced to exchange at some point, and like honestly, he might even win those exchanges. He's probably better than De La Rosa, but I do think having to exchange with De La Rosa in the pocket probably gives De La Rosa his best chance, and maybe the chance, like the off chance to land takedowns. Like, I don't know. I think I have a higher opinion on De La Rosa than most. Like, I don't think he's good, but I don't think he's awful either. He just seems like someone who's completely capped by their athletic ceiling. But he does a lot of things like technically right. So whereas Espinosa, I don't think does a lot technically right. So it's like, I think Espinosa is probably going to win this fight, but I do think it could be competitive. And in the event De La Rosa gets it down, I think he could probably steal minutes there. So I don't have an issue where the line is right now. I don't think I can play Espinosa given the current dynamic. So that's all I really have. Luke, do you have anything here?
I went into this one thinking I was probably going to play Espinosa, but after I did tape, kind of similar to some of the points you touched on, John, I only capped him minus 150, so right around where the line currently sits. Yeah. Like you said, he kind of likes to play that outside game. You know, he'll throw usually 1, maybe 2 strikes. He won't throw in any more combinations. He won't throw 3, 4, 5 punch combinations. And he kind of just likes to play that pitter-patter outside, like athletic movement type game. Yeah. He actually does have a wrestling background, but just hasn't really shown or used it much in the UFC. And so I think in terms of De La Rosa, I do give him a little bit more credit too recently. I think his hands have improved over the years, but he's just a guy, like you said, he's kind of limited by his athletic capabilities or incapabilities, I should say. And because the best part of his game is his jiu-jitsu, he really has not been able to mesh his game together well. His wrestling is terrible. I think he only lands at 15%. Yeah. So it's like if your base is jiu-jitsu and your striking isn't great and you only land at 15%, a la why you have a really shitty UFC record. But in this particular matchup, I think it actually is one of the more winnable matchups Mark De La Rosa is drawing. I'm still picking Espinosa, not betting him because I think the line is where it should be. But gun to your head, if you are to bet this fight, I mean, I wouldn't hate a play on De La Rosa here. I just, like I said, I feel like his hands have improved. He's probably going to be the one going forward here, probably throwing more. Espinosa keeps his hands down, can be hit as well. So I think from an optics standpoint, in the eyes of the judges, it's going to look good for De La Rosa here, assuming he doesn't just get completely picked apart on the outside. But yeah, so I'm picking Espinosa, but gun to your head to bet, I would bet De La Rosa in this spot.
Agreed. Lags, anything from you here?
Not much to add here. I mean, it's just two bed shitters in my opinion. I don't think De La Rosa is very good at all. Like you said, he's capped by his athletic abilities. So I think in this division, especially, it's not a good sign. So
Yeah.
and then Espinosa, I definitely think he's a bed shitter. I don't really trust him yet. And I think De La Rosa could be live for a sub here, but I can't back either guy here. If Espinosa was maybe like minus 110, if it was a pick'em, I would probably back him, but it's a stay away for me.
Agreed. Quinn, how about you? Anything here?
I do like Espinosa to win. He's got a reach advantage. He's gonna land more significant strikes. He's gonna be the one being more active. He doesn't get hit as much either. These are two of the lowest of the low on the end of the flyweight division, and I just don't really want to pay the price on Espinosa. That sub loss to Schnell just haunts my dreams. That was absolutely just atrocious. And De La Rosa sucks. He has not performed well. I think he's a decent black belt. I think if he actually worked on his wrestling, tried to get the fight to the mat more, he would have a lot more success and more wins. But he just doesn't do that at all. Coming off of a brutal knockout loss to Paiva, he might be gun shy on the feet. I just don't really like his chances here. I don't think he's UFC level. I don't think either are UFC level, but I think Espinosa is a little bit better. So I'm going to pick Espinosa, but there's no bet for me.
Seems to be the theme of this card. Finally, we get to a fun fight here. We got Andre Fili, Charles Jourdain, Air Jourdain. You have any opinion here, Luke?
Yeah, this is one I don't want to say I've went back and forth on, but I'm probably most just intrigued about in terms of how it's going to actually play out. Fili's obviously been around for a long time. He's always going to be a longer, rangier guy. He's pretty well-rounded. He's got that wrestling when he wants to mix it in. He struggled with control at times. He can be hittable. He's struggled with effective pressure, the kicks at times too. And then a guy in Jourdain, he's a guy who I think is more of a blitz striker. Like we'll see him play on the outside and then he'll come in and throw some big stuff. But oftentimes he can be very wild with it, and opponents have been able to gauge that and effectively counter. But then also I've seen him play like this really pressure game too, and really get off on those kicks as well. So I don't know. Jourdain's a bit of a question mark for me too, because he is a black belt on the ground. He struggled in terms of his takedown defense, but he is pretty active off of his back as well. Not some like massive sub threat, but he is active. So it's not like he's a fish out of water there when taken down. So I think the price on Andre Fili right now is a little high, as I capped him minus 186, but it's also one of those situations where I just don't think there's enough value on Jourdain. And assuming Andre Fili comes with the right game plan, mixes in some wrestling, fights long, he should get the job done here. But if he fights like an idiot, this one could definitely play out closer than odds indicate. So this fight's up there with one of the bigger passes on the card for me.
Agreed. Lags, how about you?
Yeah, like Luke was saying, it's one of the bigger passes betting perspective, but from a fan perspective, it's definitely one of the more like watchable fights on this card. But like he was saying, I don't think there's enough value on Jourdain where it's at right now. I was looking at the under 2.5 because I think this is going to be a standing fight. I think Fili's going to try to mix up the wrestling, but I think Jourdain's like elusiveness and quickness on feet is just going to be able to just keep the fight standing. So I like the under 2.5, but it's not a play for me. It's a pass.
Agreed. Quinn, how about you?
Yeah, I like the under a lot. I like Fili in this matchup. I think he's the much better striker. His striking has looked much improved to me. His range management and distance over his last few fights. That knockout of Shimon Moraes was fucking awesome. I was so stoked when that happened. He needs to fight smart here. He needs to keep the range. He needs to be defensively sound. He needs to mix in his wrestling. Jourdain is no pushover. He's a blitzer, like Luke said. He throws in heavy combinations. I do like his striking a lot. I think he has definitely a bright future. It's kind of gonna be a barn burner if he walks forward and gets gets Feely into some firefights, but Feely needs to just really fight smart. Her use of wrestling, push him up against the cage, land his double leg takedown, and I think he's going to cruise to a decision. But I also do like that underline. I could see either guy finishing. Feely is pretty hittable, and so is Jourdain. I really don't like Jourdain's striking defense. Like, he's going to get knocked out bad one day. He comes in, he just, he loops his strikes. He's very, very hittable, very, very, he's there to be countered. He throws these looping punches and dips his head. He's going to get countered by a better striker, and he's going to get knocked out. I think Feely could do it.
Yeah, I mean, Choi hurt him pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. So I definitely lean Feely here. I think it's one of the best fights on the card. And I hope he gets a win, because I would love to see him get some better competition. But Jourdain's no slouch, so it's going to be a good fight. But I definitely lean Feely in this one.
See, how about you? Any opinion here?
No, I'm just gonna enjoy the fight from my couch.
I don't have a super strong opinion. I like Feely a lot. I don't know, he's never really kind of reached the ceiling that people thought he would be at. But I do think he's likely somewhere in that 10 to 20 range at 145. He's got pretty good boxing, solid-ish wrestling. And Jourdain, I feel like Jourdain's going to be one of these guys who we always tune into on the prelims, just because we know his fights are going to be exciting, but probably never going to really break that top 25, 30 mark. Like, to Quinn's point, he's pretty hittable. We saw Choi rock him pretty bad. And even though he's fairly active off his back, the guy really, can't defend takedowns, which, won't affect him against some people, but it's going to hurt him in the long run if he doesn't shore that up. And so, yeah, I expect this to be like a really good fight. Lags, like, I've looked at that under 2.5 as well, like we talked about earlier today. But I don't know if I'm going to play it. I do think it's going to be fun. Yeah. And I do kind of think, like, if you told me Feely came out here and decided he was going to attempt 10 takedowns and just kind of stick to a game plan, I'd favor him pretty heavily. But I don't trust Feely to do that. Like, I think it's more likely he attempts 2 to 3 takedowns and takes his chances in the pocket, which I still like him there, but not nearly as much. Like, if he doesn't, what were you going to say, Quinn?
No, go.
I was saying, if he doesn't wrestle aggressively, I don't think you can cap Feely more than like minus 150. So I do think there's some value on Jourdain. I just don't really want to play him, because I think Feely has a pretty clear path to victory if he chooses to take it, which is a pretty big deterrent for me. So, yeah, another pass. And on we move. Now, let me regale you guys with a brief rant here.
Wait. I think you missed a fight.
You did.
You missed my girl, Agapova.
Yeah, this is the one that I didn't care about.
Okay.
Yeah, you probably.
So we'll circle back.
I'm
on the UFC website, and it's not listed on
That's
there.
probably why. Yeah, because it's not listed in those books.
All right.
I was
We'll
going to
circle
say,
back to Maria
this is
Agapova,
why I
and
have
we'll come back to
ESPN
people saying
Plus.
that. Luke, what's your take on Maria Agapova versus Hannah Cifers?
Yeah, so this is a girl I've had my eye on for a while. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people who categorically disagree with me about her on about everything. So, but yeah, she's just kind of one of my dark horses. She's 23 years old. She's still green. We saw her performance on the Contender Series, which was not very encouraging. She got completely out-grappled and outclassed by Tracy Cortez. But from there, she went to Invicta, got a couple quick wins. I think we've seen, or at least in those 2 fights, I think we've seen a little bit smaller improvements, at least from her from a grappling standpoint, at least in terms of digging underhooks, getting her hips away, moving off the cage. She's a long-rangey striker. She was one of the main sparring partners for the Kazakhstan Olympic boxing team, which I think is a nice little fun fact. On paper, she's a white belt, and I know a lot of people are bringing that up in terms of her jiu-jitsu, but she's actually fought purple, brown, and black belts and all just absolutely smashed them in the guard, and has shown effective submission defense in terms of like knowing what she actually needs to do. Like, she's not just like randomly flopping around and pulling out of stuff. She's actually doing technical things right in terms of defending arm bars, rear naked chokes. She actually spun in the guard at Tracy Cortez at one point in that fight as well. So yeah, like I said, I mean, she's still green. I'm pretty high on her. I had a pretty big play on her against Gatto in the original fight. now she's getting Cyphers, making the quick turnaround. Not too much to unpack with her. Smaller, stationary striker, can crack in the pocket, absolutely zero ground game. But I think one of the really big components here is Agapova is a big flyweight and Hannah Cyphers is a small strawweight. I believe
really.
Essentially, she probably would fight there, assuming there was a division. So I think Agapova is going to have about a 7-inch reach advantage and an 8-inch height advantage or something right around there. So there's just going to be a massive size discrepancy here. So I wouldn't be surprised if this goes to the cards. But to be honest, I think Agapova just runs through her. I think she finishes her inside of 2 rounds. I wouldn't even be surprised to see her actually work in some grappling due to the problem Cyphers has and just absolutely pound her out in the guard. So actually, real quick, in terms of my bet, I had 2 units on her at -170.
Lags, how about you?
Yeah, it was a good line. I actually had her in her original matchup against Gatto too at -230. But no, I still don't have it. The line's still not on FanDuel, but I'm gonna look to play her in my parlay with Aguilar. I don't rate Cyphers highly at all. I think it's gonna be a standing fight, like we were talking about. I think maybe Agapova can mix in the grappling, just show off what she's got now. But I think if this thing stays standing, she should dominate Cyphers on the feet, I think.
Agreed. Quinn, how about you?
Yeah, I like Agapova. I'm kind of kicking myself because she was -160 for like an hour on my book, and I was at work super busy trying to play it. And then she jumped up to -240. I was fucking pissed. There's no way I'm going to play her at that line, and she's never going to go back to -160. So whatever. I might look at playing. I don't know what I'm going to look at yet with playing with her. I need to look back over that. But yeah, she has an 8-inch reach advantage. She seemed to do pretty good against Tracy Cortez, like in the grappling. I know she got dominated, but she got on top of her a couple of times. And it seems like she's made the takedown defense improvements. And she's just going to look like 2 weight classes bigger than Cyphers here. She's going to be huge in there. And Hannah Cyphers, I originally thought she had promise when she first entered the UFC, and she just has not shown it at all. Like, take her last fight with Dern. She had the worst fight IQ in the world the last fight. She needs to keep it standing, right, and blast her on the feet. Like, she has the striking advantage. Yet in the second round, she's engaging in the grappling, engaging in the clinch, and then she gets hip thrown and subbed. Like, it was I wasn't really rooting for either girl because I don't like either girl, but it was just like really shocking for me. Like, Cyprus, that's like her 4th UFC fight, and she's gonna engage in the clinch and try to grapple with Dern. Like, just the worst game plan in the world. So there's no way you can play Cyprus at all. She's just has not shown the ability to win fights or do anything like that at all. I mean, she got mounted. We all know how I feel about Angela Hill. She got mounted and TKO'd by Angela Hill. I mean, granted, it took a while to get there, but like, Hill is, she's not a bad grappler, but she's not an amazing grappler either. So that just speaks volumes to me on, like, Cyphers not having any discipline. She's taking fight after fight. She's not taking time off to even work on anything. I think she's going to get cut soon, and I think Agapova is going to roll through her here. So yeah, plays Agapova. I'm going to look at props. I don't really have a bet yet.
C, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with everything everyone said about Agapova. I played the under 2.5. Yeah, Cypher's time in the UFC is done. She's going to get back to the farm probably forever. Yeah, I mean, she's got like these, like, her advantages are just, this is ridiculous. She's fucking 5'8". Cyphers is 5'1". She's got 9-inch reach advantage. I mean, Cyphers, yeah, like you said, she's really a 105er, fighting at 125. And Agapova, I mean, she's got some nasty elbows on the ground, even standing. I mean, we talked about this before, just in women's MMA, just being aggressive, just kind of that aggression goes a long way. And actually, I don't know if you guys caught the interview. I don't know, whoever the fuck interviewed her. That match was Tracy Cortez. She just like came here from wherever the fuck Borat's from, and didn't have any of her coaches, and it was just like her manager in her corner. So like, she just like hasn't had like any training. Like, she talked about her training partners, how they're basically like shit in Kazakhstan or whatever. So she's been at ATT. She's an evolving fighter. She's 23. So Yeah, I'm all over the under inside the distance here. I think it'll be a quick finish, honestly.
Yeah, see, you took the words out of my mouth. Like I've harped on it multiple times, but in WMMA, like stuff like physicality, aggression, and just willingness to throw down goes so far. Like so that in and of itself kind of like put me onto Agapova. Like I had a massive play against her against Gato. I have 3 units here at minus 180, and honestly, like we're talking about 5-inch height, 8 inches of reach. Like I've seen people say, well, it's harder to keep distance in WMMA because it's less skill. And it's like, well, it's like almost just as harder to enter though too. Like we're not talking about like, world class kickboxers, how to throw their way into the pocket. And so it's like, I think, you could sell me on Cypher's potentially having, better technical boxing than her, but you can't sell me on her hitting harder. And to Luke's point earlier, she's basically an atom weight facing a real flyweight. She's at a massive reach advantage. I've seen people suggest maybe Cyphers could beat her in the clinch, but I'm not really sure that's true either. And I think if it hits the clinch and Agapova wants to put her on the mat, I actually think she could. And while like Agapova is not a great grappler defensively, to your point, Luke, she's shown like a pretty vicious top game. And Cyphers has shown to be basically defenseless on her back. And so, yeah, I think she just got her covered. Like, even if Cyphers looks more technical, I think Agapova is just going to be landing more and finding the cleaner shots. So, like, I had this, like, minus 250. Pissed that the Gato fight got pulled because that was honestly, like, Luke, you and I talked about this a lot last week, like, free money.
Yeah.
It was a joke of a line. But, yeah. So, yeah, I'm on Agapova for 3 units, minus 180. Pretty excited about that. Anyway, thank you guys for letting me know I missed that fight. Now we circle back to the people's main event, which is it's Merab fight week. We have Merab Balashvili, Ray Borg, and so brief rant here because I've seen like a few people who I respect talk about like how you can't play Merab at big juice here, and like maybe there's value on Borg, and like I understand the idea that in MMA, a lot of the lines get created based on like public sentiment, which often has a lot to do with recency bias. And so generally you won't find a ton of value on big favorites. But every now and then, cough Amanda Nunes last weekend, you find a big favorite that's not priced nearly wide enough. And personally, I kind of feel that's the case here. So like, look, everybody knows I'm a big Merab fan, but like I'm also a big Borg fan. And diving into the tape, like, I played Simon big against Borg. I see a lot of the same holes that Borg had against Simon. And the difference is Merab's a much more intelligent fighter. I tweeted this out last night, but Merab's actually never been outlanded at distance in his career, whereas, Borg's been outlanded by 10 of 12 opponents at distance. So, like, the idea that Borg's going to somehow come out here and just, maybe Merab will be lazy like he was the first 2 minutes of the Kenny fight and not shoot, not volume him, doesn't seem particularly likely to me. And unless Borg wraps his hands in lead before he puts the gloves on, I don't think the chances of him knocking out Merab are particularly high. And then even the narrative that Borg, could take his back in a scramble, like go watch Merab fight. How many scrambles do you really see in Merab fights? Like the way he lands takedowns, I don't think it's not a control game. I don't think he has any intention to control you. Like, the one time we've seen him actively look to control against Katona, he controlled him pretty easily. He gets that hands clasp, and you just don't really scramble out of it. And, like, Borg, yeah. So I don't think Borg can defend takedowns here. I don't think he can. He's likely – I saw someone tweet this to me yesterday, but unless he teleports to Merab's back, I don't think he's getting Merab out of there. And so, yeah, like, I don't think you can cap Borg reasonably higher than, like, 5 to, like, 8% to finish this fight. Like, is he going to finish this fight more than 1 in 20 times? I don't think so. And unless Merab goes Darko and kicks him in the balls 3 times, is he going to win this fight on the cards? I don't know. Like, I see Merab being, like, 87, 88% here. And so, like, I've got him parlayed in 2 places. One is with Reboss, and that's, like, a pretty big parlay. And then another one on a fight coming up on this card. But, yeah, like, I actually think, like, I wouldn't do it just because risk tolerance. I don't want to play favorite generally that big straight. But I actually think if you're not opposed to it, you could play Merab straight, even at, like, minus 400, to be honest. Luke, how about you?
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well, so I won't dive too much into the matchup. But yeah, in terms of just like Marab, I just like to describe him as a wet blanket. Like you cannot get the guy off of you. We've seen him struggle with control at times in terms of like top control. Like he's more of like a mat return guy, kind of like a Colby Covington. And really, I think that almost actually plays to his game better because he just wears guys down. It's up, down, and he can do that for 15 minutes all day long. And, and a guy in Borg who's largely relies on his scrambling ability, similar kind of to the Simone fight, he's getting a guy who's just he's not going to have those opportunities to scramble against a guy like Marab. So yeah, unless maybe he catches him on the feet or something when the fight's briefly there, I guess that's your one chance for Borg. But yeah, Marab should roll here. I played him 3 units at -250. I got in this one pretty early. I don't usually hit openers, but this one I knew was going to get steamed, so I said fuck it, and I jumped on it pretty quick. So yeah, he should roll. Nothing really else to add. He should roll.
It's fucked that Bet Online's not in New Jersey. Legs, how about you? Any place here?
Yeah, I actually have Marab pretty big, similar to what you have. I have a big parlay with. I have 3 units on Marab and Rebos. I don't even know if Borg has higher than like a 5% chance to win, because I think his only chance to win is either a mean KO in the first couple minutes of the fight while it's on the feet, or by chance of him getting his back, which I don't see happening, in a scramble, which, as you touched on, there's not a lot of scrambles in Marab fights. He's a wet blanket. He lays on him the entire fight, and he pounds him out. So, I mean, I don't know if I could see a Marab KO here. I know Marab decision has been steamed up to like -210. And Marab inside the distance is +390 right now.
I think
that's a little crazy, but no, I'm just sticking with my straight play with Marab.
See, how about you?
Yeah, I'm definitely in the notion that like probably Borg is like I was just looking at like not Borg by decision is like fucking minus like 1500 or something. Like, so basically, I mean, the guy's like really, in my mind, I think he has like maybe like an 8% chance. Honestly, I think he has a better chance of like Marab just fucking breaking his knee or something.
Yeah.
I mean, because like Borg would have to do something that like we've never seen him do. One, he'd have to outland Marab at distance and keep it at distance. Which I don't think he can do. I mean, you saw it versus Ricky Simone. I mean, like Simone basically looked like a -400 grappling versus Borg. I mean, he just was kind of a dumbass and decided to strike with him. And obviously anyone can get caught at any time. And like I will say this about Marab, like there are some times like defensively where I have questions, of kind of just like what the fuck he's doing. And he can take a shot, and it's MMA, so could happen. But I mean, Ray Borg is not. I don't know. People are going crazy here, thinking like there's this huge value on Borg when like Marab's game is like just basically levels above like where Borg is at 135. I mean, there's huge size advantage here, big grappling advantage. I mean, Borg, you'd be banking on Borg to do something that he's really never done. And like the only way you could stab it, I guess, is if you play Borg inside the distance. Even that, I mean, I'd just stay away. I'm just fucking everything I can get for the next few weeks that I want. I'm just putting it with Marab. And fucking, if the guy goes down, he goes down. But I don't think it's. I don't even think it's possible. Not that I don't think it's possible. I just don't think it's happening.
Yeah, if you really wanted to hedge that, I mean, if you're into hedging, Borg inside the distance is +490.
Fuck that. Fuck hedging.
I agree.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I mean, I like Marab. I think he rolls here.
Quinn, how about you?
So I agree with everything all of you say. Marab he's gonna have an extreme physicality advantage. He's got 5 inches of reach. He fought Sambo at 155. And Borg is a natural flyweight. I think Borg could probably contend at flyweight. But he's way too undersized here at 135. His hands did look sharp his last fight, but he's not fighting a stationary target here. Marab is wild and crazy. He's gonna be all over the place, and I don't think that bodes well for Borg's striking style. He's very, very low volume on the feet. He has absolutely nothing for Merab on the mat. Merab's gonna land like 12 to 15 takedowns on him. He's gonna destroy him on the mat. I mean, he out grappled Simone easily before that weird. I guess they called it a TKO.
Well, he put himself out cold first.
Yeah.
Idiot. That's how he could lose here. That's
how he could lose. I personally, I got in on Merab at -310, and I maxed bet him with Ribas. I think that is a foolproof bet. Now I know you guys hate hedging, but I got Borg at +650. I couldn't turn that down. There's, like C said, there's zero way that Borg wins a decision here. He doesn't have the volume. He doesn't have the physicality. He doesn't have the wrestling. And, Johnny, you made a great point. Like the way Merab grabs the body lock, there's just not room for scrambles. And when Borg does try to scramble, he's going to realize he's fucking trying to scramble with a mountain. This guy is way bigger than Borg is. He's way bigger. So I give Borg not a very high percentage chance of winning this. So I was stoked that I was able to get Merab at -310. He's now like -430, 440 on my book. So I got all the value in the world on him there.
I honestly think he's going to close 500, to be honest.
I might even put him in another parlay. I'm not going to mention that parlay yet, but I might even put him with another guy. I really think we're getting a solid value. And I don't get this matchmaking. I mean, why is Borg turning around in a month and fighting Merab after just losing to a way better wrestler? And why are they even giving Merab Borg? Like it doesn't.
It's called the missing weight 4 times tax.
Yeah, it makes no sense. This matchup. So Borg, I think it's pretty much free money to me, in my opinion.
Borg needs. You ever seen that movie with Ben Stiller, Fat Camp? That's where Borg needs to. He needs to spend a summer there. Just fucking take his purse from the Merab fight and just fucking go to.
And
Fat
he's gonna
Camp.
ride. No, he's gonna take his purse. He's gonna ride with Hannah on a cow, and then off in the sunset.
What are we setting the over/under on Borg's weight at here? 138.5 seem fair? Is that the?
He'll make weight.
No chance.
I think I'll make weight.
No, fuck no. Short notice. Borg's fucked. I bet you Borg weighs like 166 right now.
Can you actually bet on if he? Can you bet on if he makes weight or not?
I know. I bet you can somewhere. I bet you can somewhere.
Bovada usually has some crazy props like that. Maybe
Bovada does have crazy props.
But anyway, moving on to the co-main event of the evening, we got Carl Baby K Roberson and Marvin Vittori. I believe this was originally booked for Jacksonville, and
yes,
Roberson, fat fuck, screwed up his weight cut and got sick. So so this has been rebooked. A lot of tension here after the little fight they got into in the lobby of the hotel. Well documented. Bit of a prick, Vittori, but I'm okay with it. Luke, you got any opinion here?
Yeah, so we've largely agreed on this pod tonight, so I'm happy. I can play contrarian on this one because I know you guys are all probably against me. But I'm going Carl Roberson here. I don't have a bet on him currently. Plus 200 is my consideration number for him. Really, it's not that I don't credit Vittori because I think he's very good and he's gotten a larger respect at the window, and rightfully so. I mean, the guy's just a mountain of a dude. He's going to come forward. He's going to throw in high volume. The dude can take a shot too. Like we've seen him like in that fight with Omari Akhmedov. Akhmedov was just bombing on him at a few points, and it looks like the dude was like completely unfazed by it. So from like an optic standpoint, it looks really good in the eyes of the judges. But I guess the case to make for me for Carl Roberson is largely where the guy has struggled has been in the grappling. That's largely where he's losing his fights. And so I think at least when this fight is on the feet, I think what Roberson needs to do is he needs to get his respect early. He needs to land the leg kick early. He needs to reset, move off the center line, and just essentially stay mobile and not be a stationary target for Marvin Vittori. Because if Vittori starts getting off on him early, I think pretty much after this first round, this might be actually a really good live betting opportunity as well. I think we're going to know everything we need to know about this fight after the first round. But yeah, I think if Vettori doesn't wrestle and he just decides to go strike for strike with Carl Roberson, I think the odds should be exponentially closer than they are. Roberson's striking is really, really good and really crisp and solid. So, like I said, I don't know if Vettori is going to wrestle or not. If he does, I think that would probably be the path to least resistance here. But with that question mark of not knowing, I'm going to need a bit of a higher differential here to make that bet on Roberson. So yeah, plus 200 is my consideration number, but I think the dog's getting a little undervalued here in my opinion.
Lags, how about you?
So from a betting perspective, I'm passing completely. I actually don't like where the line's currently sitting, minus 240 for Vettori. I know when they originally fought, it was sitting around minus 150, minus 160, and I definitely like Vettori in that spot, but when I saw the line instantly just get steamed, I had no interest in playing either side. But yeah, similar to what Luke said, I think there's value at Roberson now. I mean, at FanDuel he's plus 196, so he's getting there.
Yeah.
But no, it's a pass for me. I think like similar to the Feely Jourdain, I think it's gonna be more like exciting fights to watch. So I'm just gonna sit back and watch, and no place for me.
Quinn, how about you?
Yeah, I like Vettori here. He's going to be coming for blood. He fucking hates Roberson's guts. He needs to fight smart. He needs to use his wrestling. If he stands on the feet, like I know, like Roberson, in my opinion, is like definitely the better technical striker. And he has strong leg kicks. So Vettori needs to fight smart. He needs to pressure him. He needs to throw in high volume. He needs to wrestle him, get him up against the cage. He needs to land takedowns here. I think he will. I think he's a smart fighter. I think he's making a lot of improvements. I really like Vettori as a fighter personally. But I definitely don't like playing him at minus 230. I don't agree with that line at all. The value is definitely on Roberson. He can win. He has a if he lands in higher volume, he kicks the leg, he pressures, he defends the takedowns, there's definitely a path to victory for him. He needs to smash the leg. That's like what he needs to do. Land that body kick that he likes. But I personally just think that Vettori is going to fight smart here. He lands more significant strikes per minute. He lands more takedowns. Actually, Roberson has pretty good striking defense, though. 64%. That's not bad.
Solid.
Yeah, no, Roberson's a solid striker. He definitely can win. Like I don't really understand this minus 230 line. I definitely think it goes to decision. But I'm gonna be picking Vettori. There's no bet for me though. You can't. If you're gonna bet, it's definitely dog or pass.
See, how about you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're both striking wise at distance. Outside of that Izzy fight, both have really good ratios. Even defensively, both pretty good. Honestly, I think I'd say like the line would be like obviously I don't really agree with the line right now, but like Vettori has like an easy path to looking like I don't know, like minus 275, 300 here if he grapples. So like if you're paying like the current line right now, like you must think that Vettori is going to grapple because on the feet I think it's it doesn't, like the current line isn't justified. But if Vettori grapples, I think he has a significant edge here. So, I parlayed Vettori with Merab. I think I think he will grapple, but I'm not willing to just pay like minus 230 straight on the money line. I think it was like 170. That would have been like a decent price. I'd pay like 160, 165 for Vettori and just take the gamble on him grappling. But yeah, that's the biggest edge of the fight is if Vettori grapples.
There's one more point I want to make about Roberson. You really have to like watch out for this dude's fight IQ. I mean, that his fight versus Wellington Turman was just such a shit show. I had money on Roberson. I thought he was going to keep it standing and just light him up on the feet. And this motherfucker is grappling this guy. He's grappling this guy. I was so pissed the entire fucking fight. Like, what are you doing, dude? You have the easiest path to victory here, and you're trying to land takedowns in the second and third round on Turman. Like, I just don't understand that. And personally, I thought Roberson lucked the fuck out of that fight. I rewatched it the other day and I scored it for Turman. So
yeah,
and real quick,
fight IQ has never been good.
Yeah, real quick too, John, just to Quinn's point, I did put that in my breakdown as well, why I wanted a higher differential here if I was to bet Roberson, is that fight IQ question. He's shown a lot of stupid shit, and not even just in that Turman fight. If you actually go back and watch the Glover Teixeira fight where he had him hurt bad and then he decides to go to the ground with him, and I actually bet Roberson in that spot. So as soon as he dropped him, I'm like, yes, do not go to the ground. And what does he do? He goes to the ground right away. And so I lost money there. So yeah, it's like if I'm betting Roberson, I fully know that fight IQ issue is definitely at play, which is why I want a higher differential. So
yeah, so I actually am going to break camp from all of you here. I actually think Vettori is the better fighter on the feet, to be honest. Not from a technical standpoint. Like, I think Roberson's superior technically, but so like, look, if Vettori decides that he's going to stand at range and just pocket fight him, yeah, I mean, his leg's going to probably get chewed to bits and he'll probably get finished at some point. But honestly, so like, I had been pretty in on Roberson. I bet him big against Kopilov, and that fight really disturbed me because, like, to that point, I'd kind of thought the volume issue was kind of just caused by, you know, the nature of the matchups he'd been involved in, and that basically if he had a fight at range, he'd increase that. And instead, you know, we saw him basically drop the first round. I believe he dropped it on all three cards to Kopilov, basically just by not doing anything. And then, you know, even though he had the leg kick there all day, and then he beats it up in the second round, and then in the third round, it's again a close third round. He stops kicking the leg, to your point, fight IQ, before he gets poked in the eye, and then he goes ballistic. But if you look at like the strike numbers in that fight, you know, Kopilov, he doesn't strike at any level. He's always super inactive, and he only outlands him by 6 strikes, despite being, you know, a very clearly superior fighter in that spot. Vettori, on the other hand, is remarkably aggressive. Basically, you know, all of his strike ratios, from head strike defense to landed strike ratios, are significantly better than Roberson's. And like, I don't think Roberson's going to be able to be getting off on his calf kick as well if Vettori's pressuring forward, as he tends to do. So it's like, I do think Vettori has the power to like finish him. Like, Vettori is obviously a powerful striker, and he's technically very good. But I actually do think if Vettori was to just stand with him the whole fight, I would kind of, just because of that kind of forward pressure style, high volume style, I think I'd favor Vettori slightly. And when I combine that with, you know, to all of your points, the overwhelming grappling edge, like if you actually look at Roberson on the mat, he's allowed 1.8 grappling advances per time he's been taken down. Like, that is actually bananas bad. You know, and Roberson, you know, he only has 1 sub in the UFC, but he had a bunch regionally. Like, he is very competent on the mat. And so, like, when you combine, like, Fuego posted in the comment section that, you know, Roberson or Vettori sub was intriguing. And I agree with that. And, like, I don't know, like, to C's point, I think if he wants it, he's got about a -400 path to victory here. I don't know that he'll take it, but I just think, like, I think he's going to. His just forward pressure and volume is going to give him an edge on the feet. And I think when you factor the grappling in here, he's got a pretty big edge. So, yeah, FanDuel actually hung this Vettori line at -178 until Sunday, I think. So I parlayed that up with
Bastards.
with Davalishvili. So I have like 2.5 units on that -102. So yeah, so that's my thought on this. And then we move
to real quick, touch on the Fuego's point. And I think it's a better spot to take the fight doesn't go to decision, I think, because then I think Roberson's best path to victory here is a knockout. So
yeah, probably. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see him winning a decision over Vettori, in my opinion. So I think fight doesn't go to decision, just safer bet.
That's interesting. Actually, you know, Roberson, I mean, I know it's a kind of out there prop, but I wonder what Roberson round 3 is, because if he does start putting in work on that leg and maybe gets him out of there late, would be pretty interesting.
I can find it for you.
Roberson round 3 +2,000 at 5 dimes. Yeah,
like I'm inclined to think if he puts him out, like if Vettori didn't get put out by all the shots he ate against Akhmedov and Adesanya, I think he'll probably be able to hang tough early. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting fight. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe Roberson goes out there and styles on fast. That would be
Luke,
interesting.
what did you say? What did you say round 3 was?
Plus 2,000 at 5 dimes.
And then, so I have that plus 1,900 on FanDuel, and then if you want Roberson KO round 3, plus 3,200.
That is interesting. I might stab it. I might take a sprinkle. But anyway, we move to the main event. Not too many people are excited about this.
The worst main event ever.
Yeah, it's horrible. Luke, what do you got here?
Yeah, well, I agree with you guys in terms of the entertainment sentiment, but I got a pretty strong opinion in terms of stylistically how it plays out and a potential bet. So Jessica I mean, is a girl who I think is just largely held in pretty low regard in the general MMA and even betting community, where a girl in Cynthia Calvillo is held in very, very high regard in the MMA and just betting community in general. So I was really hoping to capitalize on that here, but apparently like people are on like the Jessica I bandwagon now as pretty much money. She went from dog money to favorite money. But yeah, in terms of how this plays out, I think the move to 125 was the best one for I think she's looked exponentially better. Her boxing is increased. We've seen her mix in wrestling, especially in the Kalindra Faria fight and Jessica Rose Clark fight. I believe in their last 4 as well, she's thrown over 800 total strikes. So her volume is very high. We talk about that all the time in women's MMA, forward pressure, volume, and everything that wins fights. But moving to Calvillo real quick, here's why I think that people are making a little bit of a mistake here, assuming that she's just going to come out here, take Jessica I down, and strangle her. Well, she went 0 for 6 on takedowns against Courtney Casey, which is something that no one seems to really be talking about. And everybody takes down Courtney Casey. And so some people might say that, well, she was just working on her striking more so in that fight. All right, well, let me double counter to that again. She only outlanded Courtney Casey by 9 significant strikes. Like, she looked absolutely terrible in that fight overall. And then if you even go back to the Joanne Calderwood fight, in the fight she won, she really struggled with the length of Calderwood. I personally thought she lost that fight. And then I actually thought she beat Carla Esparza. So I thought those two were flipped. And then in the Marina Rodriguez fight, over half of her significant strikes landed in that fight were on the ground in round 3. So if we're saying that like the Calvillo has significantly improved her boxing or whatever, which I think she has to some regard, I think people are overplaying that narrative a little too much. She's still very, very hittable. And I think Jessica I is going to be the one coming forward here, throwing more volume, who's going to be the longer girl, who has consistently given Calvillo trouble. So, Jessica I at dog money here, I think is just a really good bet. I'm hoping it swings back that way and people jump back on that Cynthia Calvillo train. But I mean, outside of Calvillo, just really taking her down and subbing her or even controlling her for a long time, which I don't see. I think Jessica I rolls here. And one more quick point too, before this fight was announced, Jessica I was scheduled to fight at the Submission Underground event on June 21st. So she's been grappling. She's been grappling heavy for a month, even before the announcement of this fight. So in my opinion, she's almost had like an extra 4 weeks in training camp for this, in the grappling against a girl who is probably going to be grapple heavy. So everything to me in this fight just points Jessica I don't really see too much of the narrative for Cynthia Calvillo, but yeah, like I said, if she gets back down to dog money, I'm going to fire on it, man.
I like that breakdown, Luke. Good job. Wags, any opinion here?
Yeah, I mean, similar to what Luke said. I actually am looking to bet. I might actually look to bet I by decision. It's sitting at plus 135 on FanDuel. I think that's a good spot. I don't see her finishing her. And like we were saying, I think she's going to be able to keep this fight standing. And I just don't think Calvillo is going to have success with takedowns here. So I think she's going to be the smaller girl overall. And I just think she's going to struggle, similar to what Luke's saying. So I have no bet on a side currently. I'm going to see what money comes in. But I'm probably going to be playing the fight goes to decision in the parlay I was talking about earlier. It's at minus 200, and I like that line, to be honest.
Quinn, do you have any opinion on this fight?
So I am going to play the latter against Luke here. I would love to see I grapple at Sug. I would make a lot of money betting against her. I don't. So with Jessica, I don't think she's that good at all. I think what she does is effective, but I don't even think that her striking on the feet is really that. It's not good. It's the fact that she pressures forward and she throws in high volume. That is what she does well. She doesn't really. She's not a very good striker in general at all, in my opinion. I mean, she has some, I guess, okay inside boxing, but she really relies on the aggression and moving forward and landing strikes. I really don't see the striking differential being that different. I mean, you were talking about her fight against Casey. I know that I believe that was the fight that Calvillo actually left Team Alpha Male and went to go train at Tiger Muay Thai. Similar to Claudia, I think.
I thought you said AKA.
She
just moved AKA.
I know she's doing this fight at AKA.
I know
she was at Tiger
went
Muay
to Tiger Muay Thai.
Yeah, she was at Tiger Muay Thai before AKA.
Yeah. So similar to Claudia going and training with Mark Henry, I personally do think that she didn't really see Courtney Casey as much of a threat on the mat. So I do think she was trying to test her striking there. This fight is weird though because I don't trust Calvillo's gas tank. I don't, maybe the move to 125 is going to be better for that, but she seems to always gas. I mean, granted, last fight versus Marina, she did look great in the third round. I mean, she fucking dominated that third round, 10-8'd it, and saved my ass a losing night with that draw. But I just her path to victory here, she does need to grapple here. She does need to wrestle. I just don't know if she has the gas tank to do that for 5 rounds. I could see her gassing out in the championship rounds and I just taking over. Like I said, I has really good cardio and she's going to put the pace on her. So that is really what my main concern is. I am going to pick Calvillo to win. I is pretty good defensively on the mat. She's good defensively, but when you have a girl like Calvillo on top of you, I rate her jiu-jitsu pretty fucking high. I love her transitions. I love her guard passes. I think her subs are fantastic. I really enjoy watching her grapple. So I definitely think she definitely has a sub path to victory here. But I just don't trust the gas tank to make a play on it at all. So I think the smartest option for this shitty main event is to just bet it live, just to see how it goes. Wait for the first couple of rounds, see how it plays out. If Calvillo's gas tank looks good after in the third round and she's landing takedowns and getting top control, definitely hit her. I think I is gonna, pretty much look, she's gonna look like she always does in the beginning. So, I think it's a live bet for me. Honestly, I think it's definitely a fantastic live bet fight. But leaning Calvillo here myself.
See, how about you?
Yeah, I'm fucking stoked for this one. I actually have 7.5 units on the draw. No, honestly,
Plus 5,000.
I do not give a fuck about this fight. I'm very curious what the matchmakers meeting was like on a Tuesday, thinking oh fuck, let's get I versus Calvillo in a fucking main event 5-rounder for a
Luke
nothing
has a
spot.
conspiracy theory about that.
Well, we can't have Rose versus Andre for 5 rounds again.
Yeah, and I don't know. I could care less about this fight, but hot take, aka is a shitty gym, just with good wrestlers. So.
And just real quick too, Quinn. I was listening to a couple interviews too with Calvillo. She's really struggled to find any sort of training partners, and the gym just opened up relatively briefly. So she's not fully ingrained at AKA right now, I guess is how I would say. She's still kind of in the similar situation as a lot of people are, kind of like training out of their house and stuff.
Yeah,
like
definitely. I wouldn't be surprised if I won this fight at all. Like I wouldn't be surprised at all. That's why I'm live betting it just to see where it is.
So honestly, like I wouldn't say this lean is strong, but if I got like plus 125 on Calvillo, I think I'd play it. Like, like I do think I is technically better than her on the feet. Like I actually have like very little doubt of that she's got better boxing. But like Calvillo outside of the Rodriguez fight has rarely ever been like badly outpaced at distance. Like she does a decent job in like keeping volume, and like the size may factor into that here, and maybe it's too much for her. But I suspect the rounds in general, because of both of their relative lack of power, are going to be pretty close. Now, to Luke's point, I think Calvillo's wrestling is dramatically overrated. But, you know, in a fight where rounds are going to probably mostly be very close, like I don't think any of us expect anybody to really get hurt badly at any point here standing. And in that kind of fight, you know, a takedown or two like from Calvillo in like the right spot could easily swing around. And, you know, I do think she's a bit faster. So it's like weird. I think I is better. I think she's a better boxer. I think I probably favor her to win most exchanges, but I think, you know, I talked about this a bit last week when we were talking about what happened if Sterling Sandhagen went to a decision. Obviously, this is a very different and much less entertaining fight than that. But I do think, you know, Calvillo's ability to potentially land 1 to 2 takedowns here could swing a couple of rounds and what will otherwise be a probably fairly high variance women's striking match. So it's like I can't play it at the current line. And I do think it's possible that maybe I just big brothers her, like if she's from size. But yeah, if I got Calvillo or plus 120, I'd play it.
So to add 2 things actually. So I was looking into future fights when we were talking about the McMahon Ladd fight. So actually, Calvillo was training a little bit with Sarah.
That's interesting.
It was about a week ago. Yeah, they took a picture. They were at they're doing jiu-jitsu together.
Nice. She'll probably quit in round 1.
And then similar to what Infego was saying with just betting Calvillo because everybody hates I feel like that might be a common thing. I don't know how much like it's actually going to play into like swaying lines, but I feel like a lot of people are betting against I because they just hate her personality.
Yeah,
I hope it does.
I am not betting. I'm not picking I because I'm not picking Calvillo because I do like.
I just honestly like I hate fights in general because like how many times a month, not a year, a month, do we see one of these women's fights where no one lands anything significant? We all think someone won, and then we all call robbery and then watch it later and say, that was like impossible to judge. And like this kind of like feels like that, like just a little bit to me. I don't know.
Maybe if it's just a striking contest and Calvillo's like 0 of 5 on takedowns and it's close, it gets to the end, and maybe you could say, oh, it's a robbery. It was close. It was close on the feet. Calvillo didn't land any takedowns, so
Calvillo's 0 of 5 on takedowns. She's fucking gassing.
Yeah,
that might happen.
And real quick too, if I do bet it's not like I'm throwing like 3-4 units on her. It'll probably probably be like a 1, maybe 1.5 unit play. So just throw that out there.
Max bet.
But anyway, guys, so we kept it under an hour and a half tonight.
Nice.
Cruise through the card. I don't think we will next week because we have a much more entertaining card where I know some of us already have some plays locked in for. Luke and I are going to be going head-to-head on one of them, so stay tuned. But, yeah, so we'll be back on Monday to do the recap show Monday night. And then on next Wednesday, 9:30, we'll be talking about a much better card, and that is Blades Volkov. But, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry we didn't have – yeah.
John, we got the Lambo parlays.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, real quick. Lambo parlays. My only Lambo parlay this week is Derek Minner, first round submission, plus 1,000. That's my big prop I'm handing out. Luke, did you make one for us?
No, I've made the executive decision that I'm only going to be doing Lambo parlays for the pay-per-views as my very first Lambo parlay went 1-3 and got busted on the very first fight of the night.
Lags, what do you got?
Yeah, Luke touched it on pay-per-views. I definitely think it's a better spot for bigger parlays to hit on pay-per-views. So I have a small Lambo parlay, I guess. I'm going to be playing Kevin Aguilar, Agapova, and the Calvillo I fight goes to decision. So I think that's going to be around plus 230, plus 235. So
Sounds like free
yeah,
money.
not juicy enough, but I honestly, this card is a shit
That's
show.
gonna
So I
get
think
you a
I think it's
Lambo.
a decent.
Yeah, that's like a Honda
value.
Civic parlay.
I know it really is.
That's the good
I'll have a
parlay.
good I'll have a good picture when I tweet that one out.
Quinn, what do you got? Anything? Got something?
I have no props, so stay tuned.
All right, Quinn's gonna post it on Twitter again.
You guys are
see, what do you got?
you guys are fucking disgraces.
5 million.
Fucking Lags is going for a fucking 1996 Honda Accord. Yeah, Minner round 1 sub, Ivy round 3 sub, Nam inside the distance, Vittori by sub. Fucking cash that.
What are the odds on that?
I think it's like plus 225,000. I'll keep going until I hit one.
That's fair. I respect the hustle.
Now that is a real Lambo parlay.
You hit.
Can't lose if you don't quit. Okay.
Yep.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, as they say.
Steve Hansen.
Anyway, boys, thanks for coming out. Thanks for watching. Promise you next week we'll have a lot more gambling bets to advocate for. So signing off here with Luke at SWR_betting, Lags at Lags_the Capper, Quinn, who's at Orthodox1993, and C. Hansen, who's at C. Hansen10, and I'm John Stargarian MMA, which you can find me at MMA Fox. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Hope you enjoyed.
Adios.